This is section 4 of 6, and we will be looking at different teaching methods and some examples of what it may look like as a tech tutor. So in the wise words of Nelson Mandela, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. For some people, education on technology can open up a whole new opportunity and world for them. So your tutoring session is making a big difference. There are many different types of teaching methods, but in this section, we will be highlighting 2 recommendations. The first one will be demo, return, demo, and then the second will be role play simulation. So the first type of teaching method we are going to talk about is demonstration, return, demonstration, or in short, demo, return, demo. This teaching method engages the learner using multiple senses. Keeping in mind of the learning style modules from earlier, this teaching method can be good for auditory, visual, and kinesthetic learners. Before you begin teaching something, first inform the learner about the purpose so that they understand the significance of what they're doing. Then you briefly explain the essential steps, gather the necessary equipment, and then the actions will be performed. So let's go through the steps together. First, for demo, you as a tutor will perform this skill. You want to slowly verbalize and exaggerate the movements if needed, and as you break down each step. With each action, explain what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're doing it. Once you've completed the demonstration, the second part is the return demonstration, where the learner will then complete the skill or task. Now, as a tutor, you can offer cues as needed. And this is called scaffolding, where the teacher or you as a tutor offers cues, suggestions, or probing questions to provide support for the learner to successfully complete the task. If mistakes are made, work through it together. Repeat the process over or just the return demonstration with less help until the learner has successfully completed the task on their own. Remember, you're there to help, not criticize. So an example is, let's say that you are having a tutoring session with an adult who is trying to clean up the files on their computer. They want to create new folders and organize their files. Following the steps of return demo, first, you as a tutor would demonstrate how to create a folder and then move the file into that folder. Slowly break down each step and action, and then you want to have your tutee return the demonstration back to you. So they will attempt to create a folder, then move a file into that folder. And as a tutee, you can provide cues or hints as needed. This process may need to be repeated a few times to ensure that they're learning. And as suggested in other modules, it may be helpful for the tutee to write down the steps if this is their learning style. And after some practice, you can see if the tutee has mastered the skill by allowing them to complete the task entirely on their own without any help. The second teaching method is role play / simulation. So role play is an instructional method in which the learner actively participates in unrehearsed dramatization. Simulation is a trial and error method that engages the learner in an activity that reflects real life conditions without the actual consequences. And I'll go over both of them in an example in the next slide. But both of these methods provides a safe environment for the learner to apply what they have learned and encourages active and experimental learning, which will foster critical thinking and problem solving. So an example, let's say that you have a tutor session with an adult who wants to learn how to use Zoom. They have some knowledge of using their computer, but they're not confident in how to access or log on to Zoom. They have a telehealth appointment later this week, and you also want to use Zoom, and they also want to use Zoom to connect with family outside of the area. So there's a few ways to role play and simulate these examples. One option is to set up a mock Zoom meeting on your own device and then email it to your 2D. In this simulated example, the 2D will navigate how to open the Zoom link and log into Zoom. Role play can be used so that the 2D and the tutor, you, can act as if you guys are trying to connect via Zoom. In this example, you can troubleshoot anything in the moment or simulate a problem. For instance, this is really common with Zoom nowadays, camera's not working or audio is not working. And this role play and simulation is a really good method because, like I said before, it really allows the 2Ds to experiment using the technology without having any pressure or anxiety as they would in a real life situation. To conclude section 4, I'll go over how to be an effective teacher. Being an effective teacher starts with building rapport and trust with your 2Ds. This is super important. Providing a safe and judgment-free environment and attitude can also help your 2Ds learn and feel comfortable with you. Using positive reinforcement to acknowledge ideas, actions, and small successes can also build their confidence. Having encouraging, sensitive, and patient demeanor will also encourage your 2Ds to ask you questions. While you may need to repeat things over again or show your 2D how to do something repeatedly, the repetition is what is going to help their learning, and your patience and willingness to help will make them feel more comfortable. It's also important to check in with your 2D. This may be overwhelming by the amount of information that your 2D is being given. So make sure that you just check to see if they understand or if they need more time, a different explanation, or even just a minute or two to write down the steps. And lastly, at the end of your session, you can give them a recap of what they have learned and what they accomplished. This will reinforce learning, and the 2D will have a sense of satisfaction, confidence, and accomplishment. So that will conclude section 4 of 6.